Catherine Jackson, and I am an educator in Galveston Independent School District.
Many students stay confused, not confident, and unable to process information. Thinking beyond the confines of a test creates huge hurdles and inhibits their success and renders students handicapped in the art of contemplation. I began the literature review process with this question: how can I get students to think and make connections? Through this literature review, I realized that I could find answers and create potential solutions to how I can help students communicate and expand learning. When this can be accomplished, then a door has been opened to help students truly contemplate the world around them. This can be a key to student success. A repetitive focus emerged: communication, specifically web-based discussion forums. Through my findings, I discovered that a combination of web-based discussion and discourse guidelines yielded positive results in the academic achievement and created an environment that allowed students to experience the communication and create valid connections. Research has demonstrated the necessity of teaching students how to generate meaningful discourse within web-based discussion forums, because once students invested and understood the necessary process to generate successful discourse, the communication generated more insightful analysis and increased universal connections. Research has also emphasized that as time and utilization of discussion forums increase, the depth of student responses continue to generate an internalized learning process. This information led me on a search to find the appropriate platform to use for discussion forums. Through educational media design and technology class discussions and research, I was introduced to Schoology. Schoology is a platform that provides safe online learning. The discussion post format parallels social media platforms, and most students are skilled social network users. This is a site that students are comfortable with the layout, and this should allow students the ability to take risks without fear of the unknown hindering them. Besides finding the platform to house the discussion forum, discussions needed to have merit and specific guidelines to assist in raising the rigor of discourse and facilitate students generating meaningful and relevant connections and responses to peer posts and commentary. Through the Reflect, Inquire, Suggest, and Elevate, also referred to as the RISE feedback process, students are required to reflect on posts, inquire about the ideas stated in the readings and posts, suggest solutions and connections, and elevate responses by proposing idea expansion. The purpose of this project was twofold. The first part was to have students listen to music and just move with it. And the second part had students analyze the lyrics and then create movement that would be a symbolic representation of the meaning within the text. In order to increase critical thinking during discussions, this project provided the opportunity to have students kinesthetically connect to the RISE feedback process. This required students to reflect, inquire, suggest, and elevate, and they were able to make these connections through the lyrics and the beats. In small groups, students discussed ideas, created the metaphorical movement, and continually elevated their own ideas. Upon completion of the analysis, groups then combined the movements to create a dance to help solidify the necessity of rising connections. We put this together and created our own Crenshaw music video.
Understanding what is read, comprehending what is said creates confusion. Understanding what is read, comprehending what is said creates. Oceans tumble and shake, pushed forth by wind and gravity, hidden in a realm of secrecy. In communications mystery, words, text discombobulate, hiding in complexity. Feed your mind, reach beyond. No limitations, no limitations. Feed your mind. Create thinkers, create contemplators, rise responses, rise communicate. Rise responses, rise communicate. How do we create a world of thinkers? How do we create contemplators? How do we become insightful? Rise responses, rise communicate.
Each cycle began officially when students completed the pre-assessment and then followed the following process. Discussion post responses and RISE feedback were evaluated using the rubrics housed within Schoology. As you can see, the initial responses before RISE implementation lacked insight and relevant connections. However, after implementation, responses morphed into insightful, relevant responses that demonstrated critical analysis and thought. Based on this data, a Cycle 3 and a Cycle 4 is inevitable. I will continue to gather data and continue to grow and see how my students grow in response to implementing these processes. However, in order to create effective cycles, I have used the knowledge gained from this action research project, and I have begun following the ADDIE process to determine the elements of my new cycle.
In addition, within the ADDIE process, I realized that I needed to create some additional samples within my development phase and also develop additional course materials. I needed to create more immediate and instant one-to-one feedback in order to help students advance their understanding of creating those open-ended responses and providing the RISE feedback. I also realized I needed to include more peer evaluation and peer feedback within my Cycle 3.